You're listening to episode 677 of the Father Bills podcast. Welcome back. This episode is entitled Christmas Peace, given on the Solemnity of the Nativity of the Lord, 2018. In 1860, a Catholic priest, Father Joseph Moore, wished to write a poem for his community. Why would he do that? Well, it was going to be Christmas, but even more than that, he himself is a child of difficulty. In other words, when he was born, his father abandoned him. And so basically, he was in a single-parent family. In that time, you could be put to jail for having a child out of wedlock. So he started in a very difficult situation right off the bat. But they found him to be very intelligent, and they then encouraged him to the priesthood. As he walked into his seminary, it was clear that they'd chosen wisely because he was a very smart seminarian. But keep in mind, he came from great poverty. He then finished his studies, and he had to get special permission for two things. One, he was 25 years old, and that's too young to get ordained as a priest. And the second, because he came from a single-parent family. Those were impediments for the priesthood. But they were dispensed, and he was then ordained. He spent his time working for the poor. He knew what it was like himself to be poor. So he scribed down some prose. And you might recognize this prose. Let me read it to you. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Round yon virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild. Sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, Father Moore wanted to then set this to music, and so he engaged a musician and composer, Franz Gruber. And because of that, in 1818, 200 years ago, on Christmas, Silent Night was first heard by the public. It was done on the organ and accompanied by a guitar. A couple years ago, we played this song, and I was playing my guitar. I figured I would gift you on Christmas without my guitar playing. Instead, we have Bill here who will help us as we're going to sing this song. And when we do so, remember, this is from a priest who desires true peace in the world. Keep in mind, this particular piece of music now has been translated in over 300 languages and dialects. An amazing story is attached to it, and maybe you've heard this. I've shared this story. In 1914, in the middle of World War I, the Germans were ensconced in their foxholes, and just yards away, the British were in their side. And it was Christmas Eve. Keep in mind, Silent Night was originally written in German, so guess who started the song? The Germans. And so they sang the song. And as a couple of soldiers sang it, more sang it. Across the field, then the British heard this. They recognized this song, and so a few of them started singing it. You know what's amazing is then they could hear each other singing it. They dropped their weapons. These are mortal enemies. They got out of their foxholes, and they shared fellowship together. This is one of the desires and wishes of Father Moore, that there'd be peace. But it's not so much politics, though politics is hopefully being used for peaceful ends. But there's a bigger war that's going on in each one of our hearts. And that's the one of sin, of broken relationships, of scandal, of hurt feelings, of illness, of death, and a myriad of kinds of suffering. And it doesn't take long to find that. Just look in the newspaper. See what humans do to each other. But that's a human moral evil. There are natural physical evils. This last week, many hundreds of people were killed by a tsunami in Southeast Asia. The suffering is tremendous in our world. Maybe you're like me. On Christmas, it's like a marker. In fact, television shows do this. They say, let's see what happened in the year 2018, or whatever year it would be, in our case, 2018. But we might be asking ourselves, okay, take a picture. What was it like last year? Where were we last year? Yeah, we weren't in this building at all. If you are visitors, we were in the gymnasium across the street at Lincoln Elementary because this was a big dirt hole, to say it nicely. Muddy. I don't even know. Did we pour the cement at this point? Who knows? It's a wonderful memory. We had to tear down our old church during the summer and rebuild. I was asking our kids at the 5 p.m. Mass last night, hey, do you remember the Christmas tree that we had? They're like, yeah. How big was it? Yeah, it was about 6 or 7 inches tall. It was my Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Had one ornament on it. You know how that goes. But it didn't stop there for us. Then we had a Charlie Brown Ash Wednesday, which happened to be Valentine's Day. What a bummer if those came together, right? Happy Valentine's Day. Here's some ashes. We had a Charlie Brown Easter, too. We're all in the hall. And God bless all of you who were there. Because that wasn't exactly all that fun, though we sure got to know each other. Nice to know you. Nice to know you, halitosis breath. Okay. Oh, my gosh. By the way, I just want to gift you as well. You know, we're talking about peace. I would like the families to be able to get together. But have you ever walked up to somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, okay, brush your teeth. Well, right after Mass, we'll be giving out some candy canes. I like to call them after communion mints. And that'll help you with your family encounters with each other. But back to seriousness here. There's so many things that are different. The building, we're not in the same place. We're back here. And what a magnificent thing. In fact, something had to die for something to rise. Our building had to die, in a way, be deconstructed in order to be reconstructed. And what a magnificent church it is. My friends, you're sitting in a miracle. Everybody, including myself, did not believe this was going to happen. Okay, one person did. Terry Curry. Terry Curry is a really strong believer. Oh, we're going to do that. Like, yeah, okay, Terry, sure. Yeah, mm-hmm. And we started the process of designing. Very excited. But we weren't going to even break ground until we knew we had gotten where we needed to be. And just before we went public, basically, we had raised the needed funds. Originally, the funds were $2.5 million. And that would give us 4 walls, and we'd throw all the pews back in there and everything else back in there. We were happy with that because the drawing before that itself was well beyond our reach, we thought. I think I looked at the numbers, and we're like at $4.3 million now in fundraising. We have this magnificent church with a new altar, new pews, things that we did not expect. We're expecting stained glass windows to be put into these 3 windows. They're already set in the front of the church that go on at night. And all the other windows have been spoken for. Our Stations of the Cross are also have been spoken for. Hopefully those will be here before Good Friday. But I'm not going to be upset by anything delayed, because I'm sitting, and you are, in the middle of a miracle. We raised the funds we needed, and I want to thank you if you were a part of that. For today we are now celebrating and giving the glory to God. Look at this. This is amazing. But see, a year ago also, you may have had a loved one with you, and they're not here. Maybe there's a break in a relationship. Maybe there's a death. They were here with you last year. They're not this year. Maybe the arguments are continuing right now. Oh, yeah. Each Sunday, I notice people drive up, and, every now and then if I'm outside, there's a discussion going on in that car until you open the doors. Then it's nice and peaceful for everybody to hear. But we all struggle. We all have difficulties in relationships. Those are things that one person and one person alone can ultimately solve. And he was born in a manger. Jesus Christ is the outpouring of the Father. He is the second person of the Trinity. We call him Christ and Lord because he came to save us. He's our Savior. So that when we fall in sin or in arguments or hurt or whatever is going on, whatever stuff is struggling, because I know everyone carries hidden burdens. He came to lighten that load and to save us. He wants every one of us to be saved. That's why he came. That's why he suffered, so that we would know the cost of true love. We as Catholics put crucifixes in all our churches for that one sign of the cost of true love. Like during Christmas time, some people give incredible sacrificial gifts to their loved ones. And it's not even so much the gift. It can be, but just knowing what a sacrifice was made to make that gift possible. That's the spirit of Christmas. We as a Catholic Church also, and other churches do the same. We decorate our churches with big trees. These were donated, these 14-foot trees were donated as a sacrifice by George and Jill Jones, some parishioners of ours. They have a Christmas tree farm. They did all 8 trees, but these big ones, by the way, I'm just not an expert at trees, but typically you go to a tree farm, you get the kind that we have on the sides there. You can't get these at a Christmas tree farm. You have to go out, and they did. They have a cooperative with the federal government to go out and go hiking into the woods and find a tree that has this type of size. And usually notice the side trees are very filled in, and these have large gaps because that's how naturally they grow. And take a look at the very top. That tells you it was a very good year last year. The distances between the branches going out tells you about the history of that year before. So they're proclaiming God. In fact, the tops of them, Jill was telling me, she's looking for a tree with 7 points on the top. And I go, how amazing. That's a great biblical number. She kind of goes, yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, yeah. This one has 8, apparently. It's over-exuberant with joy. But see, back to Father Moore. He knows that we all are struggling. When he was a priest and he crafted this poem, had it set to music so that we ourselves can have some peace in our lives. Because beside decorations, there's another kind of way that we also help each other in finding peace, and that is through music, sacred music. So if we want peace, we need to find some silence. And how appropriate it is that the song is called Silent Night. My prayer for each one of us is that we will find a new peace. That by receiving the Eucharist, Christ with us, food for the journey, born in Bethlehem, meaning house of bread, in a manger where also animals would be fed. He wants to be with us in a very privileged way through the Eucharist. And my prayer is that through this Eucharist, through this Mass, and by being with each other, we can go out into the world and seek out forgiveness. Be people of forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. And we will then start to find peace. So if you don't mind, I think it's on page 80 of your music book, is Silent Night. We'll sing the first 3 verses. I asked Bill to help us and accompany us for the first 2 verses. But as we sing it, keep in mind this. It's not just a sing-songy song, though it has the tune is very catchy. Keep in mind of the words. St. Augustine says, when we sing, we pray twice. Allow yourself to sing these words. 200 years created. It's the birthday of this song for Jesus and for us. Silent night, holy. And may you have a blessed and peaceful Christmas. Thank you again for listening to this episode of the Father Bill's podcast. And I wish you and your loved ones a blessed and Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.